Hey, it's Jason. If you need to create a formula that picks up cells on lots of different sheets, you might benefit from what's called a 3D or three-dimensional formula. This is where you create a formula quickly, with less mess and less chance of errors. What's not to like? In this video, I want to show you how to create what's called a 3D or three-dimensional formula. Down the bottom here we have 6 sheets for January through to June. Each one contains the sales figures for 4 states. Okay, so each sheet is different. On this sheet, we're going to total up the figures for each state across these 6 months. Now, what most people do at this point is to start with something like equals sum, and then once they've opened the brackets, they go to the first sheet and click on the first cell. Type a comma, go to the next sheet, click on the first cell. Type a comma, go to the next sheet, and so on. So let me just finish this process. So what you end up with in your formula is a sum function that contains 6 cells. And because we're picking up from different sheets, it's prefixed each of these cell references with the sheet name. That's the way it does things in Excel. So quite a long formula, I'm sure you'll agree. Now, because we're using an Excel table, you've only got to do the first one, and it recognises you probably want the same things for all of these others, so it puts them straight in for you as well. Now, if we look at one of these subsequent formulas, you'll notice that the first cell reference it picked up is absolute. That's a cell reference with the dollar signs on, which means it's fixed. And therefore, it's actually picked up the wrong value for these 3 because the first cell is always pointing to New South Wales. All the other cell references are relative, which means they change as they go down. So on this one it's B4, on this one it's B5, but that first cell reference is a problem. So obviously we'd have to go back and fix that for all 3 of these. So rather than doing that, let me show you how to do a 3D formula, which will get around this issue, as well as creating a much shorter formula. So let's delete these. Okay, this time I'm going to start with that first cell there, and again just start with sum like I did before, but this time I'm going to choose January, then hold shift and click June. When you hold shift, it allows you to select all the stuff between the first click and the second click, and then I select the first cell B2. If you look at the formula, what it's doing is it's picking up cell B2 from all of these sheets and adding them together. Notice how the cell reference there is absolute. So what I can do is either delete the dollar signs at this point to make it relative, or you can press the F4 key on the top row of your keyboard, which toggles through the combinations of absolute and relative. So what I've done is I've pressed it 3 times to take it back to just a standard cell reference B2. And that's it. I'll just simply close the brackets and press enter. So this time, as it goes down, see how this one's picked up B3 from each of these 6 sheets. This one's picked up B4 from each of these 3 sheets, and this one's picked up B5. That's what's called a 3-dimensional formula. You're picking up one cell across 6 different sheets, but the way you write it is to put the first sheet to the last sheet, and then the cell reference. Normally, of course, if you're just doing a cell range, let's say D2 to D5, it'll put the colon between the cell references, but here it's put it between the sheet names because it's 3-dimensional. Now this last one here, you can get that total in a number of ways. You could just use auto sum, of course, that's the traditional way. But because we're using an Excel table here, which was created on the Home tab using this Format as Table feature, you always get a drop down here when you've got a total included. And very simply, you can choose sum from this list to generate this total. The other way of doing it, of course, is to create another 3-dimensional formula. So you say equals sum, open the brackets, choose January, hold shift and click June. And this time we're going to click the total cell in each of those months, and that becomes your formula. Okay, now because it's only one cell this time, I don't need to worry about removing those dollar signs. Okay, because it's only one cell, it's not going to be copied anywhere else. So that will generate the same total using a 3-dimensional formula. So that may be new to you. It's a really useful skill to be able to have because it saves you a lot of time and creates much shorter formulas. So I hope that's a useful tip. Thanks for watching.